And it's a privilege to be here. You know, these stories, he's worse than I thought. I thought these were new things we were finding in Nashville. You know? We brought in a Yankee, a liberal, and I thought that's the way people behave in the Northeast. But it's reassuring to see you people have had this experience for decades. You know, I am humbled by one thing. I represent a large number of people here today who've only known Bill in these recent years. And you know, it's remarkable. And the circles they represent, what's so interesting about this group is that there's an overlapping circles of people that have known Bill in different parts of his life. And remarkably, he's fooled all of them. I didn't think he could do that. I will never forget, you know, I spent 35 years doing ALS care, Lou Gehrig's disease, and ran a stroke program for many years. And illness and sickness and brain injury are something that I've spent a lifetime with. And I'll never forget when Kate called me on that fateful day that Bill got hit by a car. It just broke my heart. And I'll never forget going to Vanderbilt Trauma and sitting there with her, and then Billy and John and Liz showing up, and realizing the dilemma they were in, this vibrant, loving, engaged human being. And it was over. And I had to leave town, and Kate was so kind to include me in some discussions, and she called me, and I was in Atlanta in an airport and told me that he passed. And you know, it's a paradox to me, is that the sadness and sorrow of this loss, as you've all alluded to, is only balanced by the remarkable joy and peace and happiness this man had. You know, I'm embarrassed. I've only known him for about 5 years, and we had a pandemic here in Nashville. And I would see him occasionally on Hollywood Square pictures on Zoom or something. But you know, you didn't get to see people during Zoom. But Bill and I found a way to do this. This is where Bill O'Fallon was at home, walking in the hills of Tennessee. He loved these parks, and they're near us here. And he would tromp in the parks and different trails, and of course he talked incessantly. And, he was just a delight to be with. And you know, we occasionally had breakfast with friends. So I've had little glimpses of his life, and some of you have had a lifetime with him. You know, I'm a poet. I'm not the poet that Auden is, but I write little poems, and I would read my poems to Bill as we would walk. And I would read an outline of a talk I was writing, and he would shake his head and nod, as you've noted, and say, tell me more about this. And you know, right, he could talk about anything. He would talk about politics. I didn't talk about politics. Bill was somewhere left from, you know, in Tennessee, we don't like to spend money we don't have. I know that's a foreign concept for Bill. We talk about philosophy. We talk about spirituality some. We'd even talk about medical things. He'd get a rash and ask me questions and things like that. Mostly, though, remarkably, we just talked about our heart's concerns. And he was a warm, engaging man. And, you know, I thought about him as my confessor, and he was. I grew up in pre-Vatican II Catholicism, like many of you, and I knew the Mass in Latin. I know all the phrases. I can say the Mass in Latin. And it gave us a shared heritage. But you know that some of that pastoral concern never left his soul. And to prepare this talk, I didn't have the background you did. What I did was I just read the text emails he'd sent me since 2017. And you can guess what they were. Op-eds from the New York Times. Snoopy comics. He sent me a picture of Thich Nhat Hanh when he was memorialized. He would send me Latin phrases and exhortations, but mostly they were just joyful or funny. he had a remarkable sense of humor. You know, when I thought about this, I took a survey. This is a statistical survey from people in Nashville about Bill O'Fallon, so you can trust these statistics here. And I said, what are the 3 things that you remember most about Bill O'Fallon? What is his legacy? 3 things. And some of them already came up. They came up. It's remarkable that he's been the same character his whole life. The first is that Bill O'Fallon lived in the present moment. I have never met a person who just enjoyed the everyday life as much as Bill O'Fallon. And his structure of his life was so organized. I mean, you've heard about it. New York Times, riding his bike, walking with Kate. He did these things religiously, but I think he really loved it. I think that he found real joy in the present moment, and it's a wonderful thing. That's not to say Bill O'Fallon didn't worry or fret. He did. But you know, in his later years, it came to a $25 word, he came to equanimity. He came at peace. When I would see him, I saw him about 2 weeks, 10 days before this accident. And you know, I think he was as happy as he could be. He loved where the boys were and the grandchildren. He was looking forward to going to the Jersey Shore. Thank God Kate did all the work. I mean, I'm surprised she packed everything, she moved everything. I think he went along for the ride. You know, I told Kate when I walked with her recently, I said he was more like Peter Pan than any adult man that I've ever met. He was playful. He was just so. The second thing that people in Nashville said about Bill O'Fallon is that he nurtured relationships like no one they'd met. And you've alluded to that. I mean, you couldn't go for a walk with Bill O'Fallon without him sending you a thank you.